Hello and welcome to Andalus IT Academy. Today we will be talking about basic networking tools, and this is video 1. In this video we are going to be talking about understanding the IPCONFIG tool. And this is one of the most basic tools that you need to have in your toolbox if you want to become a network technician. The equipment and requirements that you're going to need in order to follow along with this video are a Windows 7 computer and common sense, but that's kind of optional. So let's do a quick overview of the IPCONFIG tool. This is basically a command line tool, which means that it is accessed and executed through the command line. And you can use it to troubleshoot your basic network connectivity. One of the primary uses of the IPCONFIG tool is that it displays the IP address configuration of your network interfaces. So this is what the IPCONFIG tool looks like when you run it in command line. So let's actually go ahead and do this now. The best way to learn is to get hands-on. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up a VM here. And inside of this VM, basically what we need to do is move towards the bottom left-hand side and click on our Start button. And there's a couple different ways to pull up command line. One of the fastest ways is just to search for command or type in command in the search box down here. And then I'm just going to go ahead and click on the command prompt button here. Now I'm going to go ahead and maximize this so that you can see it clearly. At the command prompt, all you have to do to run the IPCONFIG tool is to type in IPCONFIG and hit enter. And then it basically shows you your Windows IP configuration right here. And I have an Ethernet adapter enabled, and then I have some other things here, but we're not going to go into the tunnel adapters because that's beyond the scope of this individual video. Now, there are many different variations of the IPCONFIG command that you can run. So notice here, for my Ethernet adapter local area connection, I only have a couple lines here. It tells me the connection specific DNS suffix, which is empty. It tells me my IPv6 address right here. And it shows me the auto configuration IPv4 address, which is 169.254.141.148. It tells me a subnet mask, which is 255.255.0.0. And then it shows me the default gateway. One of the other versions of the IPCONFIG command that you can run is IPCONFIG /all. And I'm going to go through both of these in a little bit more detail. Right now I'm just demonstrating it for you. So notice I have one command prompt version, or one instance of command prompt open right here. I can go down and open up another version or another instance of my command prompt by clicking on Start and then Command. So I'm going to place this one on the right hand side. I'm just going to resize the screen a little bit so that you can tell the difference between them. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just change the color so that you can see them side by side right here. And then I'm going to type in IPCONFIG /all. Now notice on the right hand side where I typed in IPCONFIG /all, I got tons of more information. So the difference between IPCONFIG and an IPCONFIG all switch is that it tells you all of the information when you run all. So it's kind of self-explanatory there. And if you ran just the IPCONFIG, it would tell you a quick summary of your information. So we're going to go through both of these in detail, but I just wanted to demonstrate how you can run these commands. Now there are many more commands that you can run. These are the two basic ones that we're going to start with in this video. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and minimize these. So I just want to talk about IPConfig in a little bit of detail. There's 5 main points that you should understand for the purposes of this video. The first point is that when you run the IPConfig command, it displays all of your current TCP/IP network configuration settings. So remember, that means current. If you are going to change your IP configuration settings, it's a good idea to note down what your current settings are, and so that way you can come back to them if your troubleshooting doesn't work out the way you expect it to. The second main point that you have to understand is that by default it displays the IP address, the subnet mask, and the default gateway for all of your adapters. So it gives you a summary by default. It doesn't give you all of the details by default. If you do want all of the details, then remember, and this is point number 3, that you have to use the all parameter. So make sure you understand that, and this is going to come up on some of the standardized tests for certifications. They'll ask you what command would you run to see your host name, for example. And your host name can only be seen if you run the IPConfig space /ALL parameter. If you just type in IPConfig, they might mark you wrong on your certification tests. Now, the fourth thing that you need to understand about the IPConfig command is that it's not just to display your IP configuration settings. You can also use it to edit and refresh and change your IP configuration settings. So for example, here you can use it to refresh your dynamic host configuration protocol, or your DHCP settings. And number 5, you can use it to refresh your domain name system settings, or your DNS settings. So once again, to recap, your IP configuration command, your IPConfig command, displays all of your current TCP IP settings. By default, it displays just the IP address, subnet mask, and default gateway. If you want more details, you have to use the all parameter. You can use it to refresh your DHCP settings, and you can use it to refresh your DNS settings. Alright, that covers it for this short video on basic networking tools. Thanks for watching, and if you would like to learn more about some basic networking tools or more about IPConfig, continue on to video 2, and hopefully I'll see you again. Thanks guys, bye.